That works for you, maybe. maybe you can do that. Oh, we're live. We got to be careful what we're saying over here. We don't want people to know what we really speak about in yeshiva.
That was Pinchas who said that.
It wasn't me. Yes. All right. So we're about to begin. Okay. Today's Gemara is even more interesting than yesterday's Gemara, if you pay attention. Okay. So we're going to focus. Remember, we're no longer a talk show. We're right now a Gamara class. We've always been a Gamara class. Just sometimes the Yetzer Hara has dragged me into being a talk show host instead of a Gemara teacher. But I have to stick to my main job, which is teaching Gemara. Unlike our friend Jackie Mason, who was meant to be a rabbi and then he went to be a comedian, right? I was meant to be a comedian and I became a rabbi. I did the other way around. Yeah, I can be both. But the question is, are you a comedian that happens to be a rabbi, or are you a rabbi that happens to be a comedian?
Well, we'll see what happens from comedians. They don't necessarily turn out the best.
Maybe that's because they had the wrong approach or the wrong focus.
Like Modi.
Modi.
You know Modi?
I do know Modi. I don't know him personally. I've seen him online. I know what he's been doing. Yeah. What? He's very funny. Yes, he definitely is. What? I did not excommunicate him. And according to me, I don't know why. I don't know if he's doing some terrible I don't know what he does in his personal life, but I don't see such terrible things about his content. Sometimes it's good content. It's very funny. Huh? You saw him a few months ago? On YouTube, yeah. He is very funny. I would definitely recommend. His content. Anyways, yes. Just for the people that are watching this online, whether you're watching this live or whether you're watching this replay after the live show class. Whichever one you are, you should definitely right away, before we even begin the class, you should hit subscribe and the bell if you're on YouTube, so that this way you'll be reminded every time we go online. If you're on Facebook, you have an obligation. Please do it right now before we even begin. Hit share and put it on every single group you are. If you have WhatsApp, put it on all your WhatsApp groups. Whatever you got, put it on, and let's go further. All right?
Instagram,
are you on or no?
If you're on Instagram,
you're not on? Well, we have somebody on, so.
I hear the call.
All right. You hear the call? Yes, you want to say something, but you have to come into the screen if you want to say something. This is Mendel, one of our students. He's already a certified rabbi. I'm not sure if he realizes it. Come, you have to get into the screen. Come on, man. Yeah, there you go.
If you guys are on Instagram, you should check out Self's Expression. It's my art account. I make some cool stuff. You could hit me up if you want to buy something or whatever.
Hey, stop playing.
Check it out, man.
We're not plugging our stuff over here, man. There's a self-plug. The guy sneaks in. This guy smuggled in his advertisement into my class. We said this is a class. It's not a show. If it was a talk show, we'd have to stop for commercial.
I'll shout you out on my Instagram.
You have to shout me out. You have to shout out whoever goes to you after coming here.
If I get more than 5 followers, I'll shout you out on my Instagram.
Anyways, yes, sheets are given out only on Sundays, not on Wednesdays, and we did give it out, and there might be some left over under there. If there are, I'm not sure. Okay? You can ask for sheets online. We also only give them out on Sunday. I'm not going to give you worksheets on Wednesday. Okay? It ruins the whole thing. If you want to follow with the worksheets, our class, you should definitely send me a message online. By the way, if you're on a platform that cannot send a private message, if you put it in the comments, say, Rabbi, how could I get the sheets? I'll try to get a hold of you as well. So, this is not the hood, okay? Okay, I came from Brooklyn. I moved out of Brooklyn. No more hoods. Yeah, let's go. All right. Okay. Now, I want to remind you, we're talking about Muktza. We are holding on Masechet Shabbat 43a. Okay, so you have the book. You go to Masechet Shabbat 43a, and that's where we are right now. We're talking about Muktza. Now, I want to tell you, Dan Sadiq, one of our favorite Sadiqim of the class, Dan Sadiq. Okay, His name is tzaddik. What does tzaddik mean? Righteous person. He's dan tzaddik. Anyways, good. Now, we are speaking about Muktza. We are learning a lot of details about Muktza and their exceptions through this back and forth discussion. We started out with a Mishnah. We then had a statement of Rav Chisda, and then we had Rabba's interpretation of the meaning and the reason behind Rav Chisda's statement. Then we had Rav Yosef's interpretation of the meaning behind Rav Chisda's statement. And by the way, we're going to have a third person. Yeah. We're going to have a third person that's also going to try to explain the same statement later. But let's leave that for now. Let's understand the details of Muktza that we are going to figure out right now, right here. We're going to figure out the details of Muktza through the Talmudic analysis structure. Okay? Now, remember, Rav Chisda said you're not allowed to put a bowl to catch a rolling egg. But you are allowed to turn a bowl upside down on top of an egg in order to protect it from somebody stepping on it and smashing it and getting their shoes all dirty and ruining my egg, because I'm not going to eat the egg after it's all over the bottom of their shoe. Are you going to eat an egg after it's all over the bottom of somebody's shoe? Absolutely not. Right? Okay, there we go. So you don't want the person to step on that egg. Okay? Now the question is, why are you allowed to protect the egg by putting a bowl on top of it to protect it from getting smashed, but why can't you put a bowl under it to collect it when it's rolling into the bowl? So we have a few different opinions. Our first opinion is as follows. Our first opinion is Rabba. Rabba says that you're allowed to make a rescue. You're allowed to make a rescue that is a normal rescue. A normal rescue means if it's common for this thing to happen, therefore, prior to Shabbat, what would you call it? Subconsciously, and by the way, Muktza has a lot of subconscious rules about them, okay? We're going to deal with the subconscious human mind. Thanks for erasing that disgusting comment from, I don't know who it was.
Don't talk about it.
I shouldn't talk about it. No. Good. Okay, don't talk about the disgusting comments. By the way, those of you who want to put good, influential comments, things that you think will add to this class, if it's a question you don't understand something I said, or if it is something that you want to ask in general, you can put it in the questions. Please be respectful. If you're not, we're going to erase it. So, okay? All right. So Rabba says that subconsciously, if you subconsciously knew that you might have to do this on Shabbat because it is something that does happen a lot, then you're allowed to move the bowl in order to make the common rescue. But if it's not common, it's an uncommon rescue, you're not allowed to move the bowl to make an uncommon rescue. Okay? So that is a hypothetical possibility of the rules of Muktza. Right, Naftali? Good. So, the reason I say hypothetical, because we did not conclude that this is in fact the rules of Muktza, we're just throwing out Rabba's opinion. Now, of course, Rabba has opinion and it's going to be challenged and beaten on by our favorite rabbi, Abaye. Okay, for all of you watching that didn't hear this before, you need to learn about the character Abaye in Talmud. He's one of the main characters of the whole Talmud. His name is Abaye. He's actually buried about 45-minute walk from here. If you get in a car, maybe 5-minute drive. Yeah? Abaye. It's close. It's if you go all the way up the hill by Biria, okay, you'll see there's signs for Abaye and Rava. They're buried right here in Tzfat, yeah. They're actually buried right next to each other, even though they argued a lot, yes. Because you know what? I've said this before, but I'm going to say it again. And it's an important lesson. I know, Don, you don't like when I go off topic, but this is a very, very important lesson you must learn. Okay? In the secular world, in the Western world today, there is a massive disease. Okay? And it's not a physical disease. It's a psychological, mental disease. Okay? This disease is if somebody disagrees with me, I should hate him or her, right? This is unfortunately a horrible disease and should never be considered because God made our brains different than each other. And since God made my brain different than your brain, it is actually perfectly natural for me to disagree with you. Not only that, why do you think God made your brain different than my brain? Why do you think so? He made them different because by us not agreeing with each other and then discussing it, we will both understand the issue at a deeper level. Okay? And therefore, if you find somebody that you're constantly arguing with, that's actually a person you should be friendly with. You know why? What is the purpose of having a friend? This is another mental disease that exists in the Western world. I hate to break you all these mental diseases, but I'm sharing with you, if you understand the disease, you might be able to cure yourself from this horrible disease that's going around. This horrible disease that's going around is that the whole purpose of having a friend is to serve you, right? To give you self-pleasure, right? I want to be his friend because he makes me laugh. I want to be his friend because he's fun to hang out with. I want to be his friend because he, takes me to interesting places. That's a stupid reason to be somebody's friend. I hate to break it to you. If you like hanging out with the guy, that doesn't mean you should be his friend, right? And if you don't like hanging out with the guy, doesn't mean he should be your enemy. You know how you should determine whether somebody should be your friend or not? Okay, this is a very important lesson for you guys out there online, right? And by the way, you can comment and ask questions about this. But the very, very important thing to do, what am I saying about friends? You should be friends with people that help you accomplish your mission in this world. That's the friends you should have. Those are the people you should connect with. The people that enable you to get further in life are the people that you should be connecting with. You know why? Because God put you in this world to accomplish something, and if somebody else is helping you accomplish that thing, you know what that means? That you should be their friend, because they're helping you get to where God wants you to go. All right? And therefore, if you have a friend that you constantly argue with, you shouldn't say, oh, I'm always arguing with him, therefore I shouldn't be his friend anymore. Wrong! If you're constantly arguing with him, you should continue being his friend again and again and again. You should always want to be his friend if you're arguing with him. You know why? Because if you're arguing with him, obviously respectfully, you are going to be enhanced. Your own knowledge is going to get better. Even if you don't end up agreeing with this other person, your knowledge will be enhanced by communicating with this person, by disagreeing and by arguing on why you disagree. Your education will grow. All right? This is why we're friends now. Thank you. Right? Good point. No, but it's very important to realize this. This is something that people make a mistake. If you're thinking of a friend as somebody that gives you self-gratification, self-pleasure, right? Then what's the point? You need somebody that's going to get you further. Okay? And therefore, in the Talmudic era, when somebody found a person that constantly argued with them, you know what we call them? You know what we call them? No, close. We call them a ben zug. Ben zug. A ben zug, okay, you know what a ben zug is? A ben zug is a couple, right? So we call them the couples. Abaye and Rabba were a couple. Yeah, they were a couple. You know why? Because they constantly argued with each other. Right? But they did it lovingly. They loved each other because they were arguing with each other. So if somebody's constantly arguing with you, you should love them more, and you should be their friend more, and you should speak to them more, not less. Now, I'll tell you what the problem really is. Here's the real issue out there. Thanks for Shlomo Yaakov Rappaport, who's probably a Kohen as well, I believe. Yeah, Kohen. Most Rappaports are Kohen, although I do know some Rappaports that are not Kohen. He says, interesting and good points. Baruch Hashem. Thank you. Am I allowed to react to those comments or no? It's up to me. Okay. All right, we have our producer over here, my boss. I have to let him know.
When the trolls do comment, you don't give them
Oh, only the trolls I'm not supposed to comment on. All right, good. Yes. No comments on the trolls. Don't troll us. We're not gonna mention you.
They're looking for narcissistic supply, you know?
Who?
Narcissistic supply.
Yeah. Anyways, let's get back to the point because we don't want to lose focus on this, okay? I'm going to teach you something very important about arguing, okay? And unfortunately, this also happens in the Western world because of this problem that people see somebody arguing as somebody that they should hate. They attack the person. They don't attack the issue, they attack the person. You're an idiot. You're ignorant. You don't know what you're talking about. These type of things are labeling the person and an attack on the person, right? And that is unfortunately not acceptable, even in the Gemara. We never attack the person. I shouldn't say we never. There are a few times where we actually said this. That comment is so stupid. I don't know whoever said that. We do say that a few times. We do say that sometimes in the Gemara. There are times where it gets harsh, but it's rare. It's rare. Usually we stick to the issue. We're focusing on arguing on the issue, and that is what we're dealing with. All right? Let's continue. What's that? Sharon, we're definitely not calling you a troll. There was somebody else that wrote something not very nice. We're not calling you a troll. We're happy to have you, and please stay online and share with us your comments and your questions. I see you did make a comment, but I didn't really have anything to comment back, and that's why I didn't.
No, Sharon's
All right.
not the troll.
No, Sharon's not the troll. That's what I'm saying. It was somebody else. We erased them. They're not there anymore. They're gone. We kicked them out. Yeah. Yeah. Correct. Very often, there's no resolution in the Talmud, which means there can be an argument and there's no resolution. All right? Now let's get back to the case at hand, which is Muktza. Okay? Rabbah says you're not allowed to move an object for the purpose of rescuing something that is not normal because subconsciously you didn't have in mind to use that vessel for that purpose on Shabbat. That's subconsciously. Very important on Shabbat. We deal with the subconscious a lot. Now, there's an argument. Rabbi Yosef says that's not the reason why you cannot collect the rolling egg. The reason you cannot collect the rolling egg is because you're canceling the use of a vessel. And that is prohibited. You're not allowed to cancel the use of a vessel on Shabbat, which means if at one point on Shabbat it was permissible to use, and now whatever you're going to do to that vessel is going to make it prohibited to be used, then you are not allowed to do that on Shabbat. And if you catch a rolling egg in the bowl, because the egg is not allowed to be moved on Shabbat, therefore the bowl, which is holding the egg, is not either allowed to be moved on Shabbat, and therefore, by definition, you're canceling the use of the bowl. However, if you cover the egg with the bowl upside down, now that's very different. Because if you're covering the egg with the bowl upside down, the egg is not in the bowl. The bowl is on top of the egg, and therefore, if you were to move the bowl, would you move the egg? No. So you could move the bowl without moving the egg, and therefore the bowl is not canceled. It's still 100% usable on Shabbat.
And then it's like the egg now is safe. The egg has not rolled and cracked. The egg
Right.
has now been stabilized.
Right.
Right. And so, okay, now I can lift the bowl.
Again, you're mixing two concepts. You're mixing a moving egg with a stationary egg. The moving egg again, you're only allowed to put the egg on top. You're only allowed to put the bowl on top of the egg when the egg is stationary. Okay, yes, to protect it, right? That's it. You're not allowed to mess around when it's what's it called? You're not allowed to mess around with the egg when it's moving. You're not allowed to do that. All right. You can never move the egg. No, an egg that was laid on Shabbat is Muktza 100%. You're not allowed to move it. You're not allowed to touch it. Leave it alone and walk away. All right? Anyways, so again, that was Rabbah's opinion. We're going to go to Rabbi Yosef's opinion. Oh, we are speaking about... somebody asked an interesting question. Oleg from Be'er Sheva, from Abraham's city. He asked us, what happens if the egg hatches? Huh? What if the egg hatches? Well, again, it's pretty much the same thing because you can't move the chick either. You just let it run around. That's it. Yeah. The question is, are you allowed to put a bowl upside down on top of the chick to protect the chick? I would assume not. You might kill it. Yeah. You're not allowed to trap on Shabbat. That's true. It's an issue. You're not allowed to trap something on Shabbat. That could be an issue. Don't mix that into my class right now. This is very controversial stuff. Yeah? All right. Okay. Now, so again, Rabbi Yosef's opinion is you're not allowed to cancel the use of an object on Shabbat, which means if you were allowed to use it on Shabbat, you can't on Shabbat cancel it and make it unusable on Shabbat. Can't happen. You're not allowed to do that. Okay? Now, once again, Abaye comes and tries to argue with Rabbi Yosef. Okay? Abaye tries to argue with Rabbi Yosef and he brings a few examples. Okay? I'm going to skip the first few examples because you were meant to learn this yesterday. I'm going to jump to the example of what happens if you have a basket and you want to turn the basket upside down so that the little chicks could run. You ever see the little chicks running around? They're running around and playing with each other. Yeah? Anybody? No one saw chicks running around?
Yes.
You did. In kindergarten, you had the little chicks running around. They're very active and they're very cute. There's little chicks. And then so somebody wants to put a basket upside down so he can watch the chicks running up and down on top of the basket. No, it actually says you could do that. Okay, it says. So that's Abaye's challenge to Rav Yosef. We have a Tanaic sage. The Tanaic sage actually says as follows. The Tanaic sage says that you are allowed to turn over a basket to allow the chicks to jump on it. Now, if the chicks jump on it, could you use that basket? What do you say, Naftali? Could you use a basket if the chicks are on it? No, because we said earlier the chicks are Muktza. The chicks are Muktza. You're not allowed to touch the chicks. Oh, so you're saying if the chicks jump off, what happens if they jump off? And we're going to deal with that as well. Okay? So, again, Rabbi Yosef says you're not allowed to cancel the use of an object on Shabbat. Therefore, you cannot do anything to an object that will prevent you from using it for the rest of Shabbat. Now, in order to challenge that, he brings a source. Abaye brings a source. It says, you are allowed to turn over a basket next to the chicks so that they could jump up and down on top of the basket. You're allowed to do that. No problem. Right? Which sounds like you're canceling the usage of that basket on Shabbat. And that is prohibited, according to the way Rav Yosef learns it. But because we have a source that allows it, it actually proves, or it attempts to prove, that Rabbi Yosef's opinion is invalid completely. Okay? Invalid opinion. Wow. Yeah, anyways, so the Gemara needs to now ratify, is that the right word? No, ratify. Yeah. The Gemara needs to now ratify Rabbi Yosef's opinion and try and argue how Rabbi Yosef's opinion is not invalid. And it says as follows. Yeah? Kasavar murtal taltale. V'hotanya osr taltale. He says, hold on a second. There's actually a contradicting brisa. There's another Tanaic source that says the exact opposite. It says you're not allowed to move this object. Okay, so we have now conflicting brisas. One brisa says that if you turn the basket over to put the chick, so to allow the chicks to jump on it. One brisa says, yeah, well, you allow the chicks to jump on it. Now you can still use it afterwards. Now, if you could still use it afterwards, it's no longer contradicting Rabbi Yosef's theory. Rabbi Yosef's theory is only if you're destroying the use of it on Shabbat. But here, you're not destroying the use of it on Shabbat, because as soon as the chickens go off, you can use it. However, there's a brisa that says the exact opposite, right? There's a brisa that says that you're not allowed to move the basket on it at all. So the Gemara answers, "Ba'oidin olav." You're not allowed to move the basket while the chicks are still on it, but you're allowed to move the basket when the chicks go off. Now, if you're allowed to move the basket when the chicks go off, you know what that proves? You did not cancel the use for Shabbat. You maybe temporarily disabled yourself from using this basket while the chicks are on it. But it's only temporary, because as soon as they go off, you're allowed to move it. Now we bring another brisa. Remember, we're going back and forth on this very point. We bring another brisa that says as follows. It says, "V'hotanya," and didn't it teach in a brisa? "Afal pisha oiden olav asur." Yeah. Even though they're no longer on it, it's going to be prohibited. Right, so now we have one brisa that clearly says that if the chickens were on the basket on Shabbat, even though the chicks went off the basket on Shabbat, that basket will remain Muktza and you're not allowed to move it. And if that's the case, and we said you are allowed to turn over a basket for the chicks to go on, by you turning over the basket for the chicks to go on, it is canceling the use of that basket, and since it's canceling the use of that basket, and we're allowing it, it proves that Rabbi Yosef's theory is out the window. Right? So now once again we need to ratify how does this make sense with Rav Yosef's opinion. Make sense? Good. Our friend Oleg says, I wouldn't be able to prevent myself from touching the chicks. Well, you're not allowed to touch the chicks on Shabbat. I know, he says they're so cute. The chicks are so cute. Yeah? You're petting the pigeons. You pet the pigeons. He was petting pigeons in a Fred's window. I'm surprised that pigeons let you pet them. Can you believe that? He says there was the pigeons in one of his friend's windows, and he's petting the pigeons. Don't touch pigeons. They run around in dirty places. All right, there you go. We have Dan Sadiq tells you, my friend Oleg, do not touch the pigeons. They're dirty. They're stinky. They're smelly. They make weird noises. You know that? You know what I'm talking about? No. Yeah, you never seen those chickens? Yeah, they do make weird noises. Anyways, we're dealing with a massive challenge against Rabbi Yosef's opinion, against his theory. Rabbi Yosef's theory is you're never allowed to cancel an object on Shabbat. You cannot cancel the use of an object on Shabbat. And here we have a proof that you are allowed to cancel the use of the basket on Shabbat, because the second the chicks are going to go on it, it's going to be prohibited. All right? Omar Rababu. Rababu says as follows. Ba'oidon olav kol bein hashmoshes. When we say that if the chickens were on it, you're not allowed to use it for the rest of Shabbat, we're not talking about that the chickens went on Shabbat and went off on Shabbat. We're talking about a situation where the chickens were on the basket when Shabbat began. Meaning bein hashmoshes. Anybody know what bein hashmoshes is over here? What's bein hashmoshes? Huh? Literally between the sons, I guess, or it really means between the two. Shamoshes is like the servants. Okay, it is bein hashmoshes is when the sun goes down, after sundown, till the three medium stars come out, is called bein hashmoshes. Because this is a period in Judaism where we're not sure if it's day or it's night. Okay, there's no clear cutoff in Judaism when it turns from day to night, and it's very important in Judaism because in Judaism every day starts in the evening. Okay, I know in the secular world it starts at 12 o'clock midnight, but in Judaism it starts as soon as it becomes night. The only question is that the rabbis couldn't figure out when is night. Some rabbis said night begins as soon as the sun goes beyond the horizon. It's called sundown. We call it shkiyas hachamo, shkia, and then it becomes night. But some rabbis say, no, it is when three medium stars come out. Now, I say three medium stars because a lot of people, they'll go outside and say, hey, I'm looking outside, and look, there's three stars outside. It must be that it's the next day. Wrong. Because we're not talking about three stars. People get confused. We're not talking about three stars. We're talking about three medium stars. Now, I want to know who over here can tell the difference between a large star, a medium star, and a small star. Which one of you think you could tell the difference? Huh?
Do they mean brightness?
I don't know.
They all appear the same
I
size.
don't know. Again, we're talking about three medium stars. Three medium stars. What's three medium stars? No idea. I'm going to break it to you right now that the Talmud doesn't either have an idea, because the rabbi said that even in the time of the Talmud, they couldn't figure out what's the difference between the big stars, the medium stars, and the small stars, right? And therefore, they made various calculations, okay? There's various calculations on a certain amount of time after Shkia, after sunset, is the three medium stars, and that's why if you're following Judaism today, it's a big mistake. For example, if you're no, big mistake, you're right. Big mistake for fun. It sounded like I was saying that. It sounded like I said big mistake. Dismissed. I told you that earlier. It's like, why didn't you tell me that before? All right, no, the big mistake is not about following Judaism, although that depends on who you ask. You know, everybody has their opinion. But the big mistake is that many people that follow Shabbat, many people that keep Shabbat, what they do is that they'll say, when Saturday, when does Shabbat go out? It goes out by 3 medium stars. So very often people will go outside and say, hey, look, I see three stars, therefore Shabbat is over. But they don't realize that it's 3 medium stars, and the stars that they're seeing might be large stars. They might be seeing the large stars and then breaking Shabbat while Shabbat is still in session. Yeah? It's a big problem. So again, that's why you need to follow the Jewish calendar, which will actually tell you times. It says this is when Shabbat ends, now you have to follow at that time. Don't start looking for stars. Okay? That's that. Okay? We count sheep, we don't count stars. That's it. No, that's also just a joke. Okay. Do you like the joke? You're laughing? Okay, good. I hope you're laughing too, whoever's out there. By the way, you could put questions, comments, whatever you want. You could put it into your platform. Even though I'm on a few different platforms simultaneously, whichever platform you put it on, I will get your comment, your questions, and if it's something that I feel that I can comment on to answer a question, etc., I will do so live. If, of course, you're putting on the comment during the live session. Okay, if you're putting it on afterwards, I will read the comments afterwards, usually once a day, twice a day. I read comments, and I will try to get back to you if it's a relevant question. Let's continue very importantly, okay? The Brisa basically says that there's a rule called the iktzei lebein hashmoshes iktzei lekula yom. If something was prohibited for use when Shabbat began, it is prohibited for use for the rest of Shabbat. There's no such thing as something that in the beginning of Shabbat you could move around. In the beginning of Shabbat you're not allowed to mess around with it, but then in the middle of Shabbat you are allowed to mess around with it. There is no such thing. Okay? Once Shabbat starts, it locks the status of that particular item. Yeah. So that's what Rabbi Abo, right? Rabbi Abo says that there's a rule that if Shabbat begins and there's an object that you're not allowed to move when Shabbat begins, you're not allowed to move it for the rest of Shabbat. And that is how he explains what's going on here. What he explains is that when we said if you have a basket upside down and the chicks were on it, you're not allowed to use it for the rest of Shabbat, we're only talking about a situation where it was there the entire Bein Hashmoshes. However, if on Shabbat the chicks went on, and then on Shabbat the chicks went off, you are allowed to use that basket, and therefore that actually validates Rabbi Yosef's opinion. It validates Rabbi Yosef's philosophy that tells you that you can that you're not allowed to destroy the use of something on Shabbat. Okay, on Shabbat itself, you're not allowed to destroy its use, and in this case, you're not destroying its use. You're actually not. You're using it for what it's meant to be used for. Right? Good. So, now that discussion is over. So we learned a very important lesson over here. We learned that we have Rabba's opinion, we have Rav Yosef's opinion, and now we have a new important aspect of Muktza law, which is that if Shabbat begins and the object is Muktza, it remains Muktza the entire Shabbat. Okay? That is a new rule that we learned in conjunction with analyzing Rabbi Yosef's opinion. Now we're going to go on to another very important rule of Muktza. Okay? And this is an opinion that argues with Rabbah, and he argues with Rabbi Yosef, and he says as follows. Rabbi Yitzchak, says Rabbi Yitzchak, not you, a different rabbi that was there 2,000 years ago. Okay? Rabbi Yitzchak says as follows. Just like you're not allowed to put the bowl under the egg to catch it, you're also not allowed to put a kli on top of an egg that it shouldn't break. So actually, Rabbi Yitzchak is not arguing with Rabbah. He's not arguing with Rabbi Yosef. Who's he arguing with? Who's he arguing with? Huh? Very good! We have our brilliant Talmudic scholar, David. David, we have a few Davids over here, so it's somewhat anonymous. If you want, you could share the rest of your name. It's up to you. right? But David got this correct. He's arguing with Rav Chisda. Rav Chisda says you are allowed to turn the bowl upside down on top of the egg, right? And this rabbi says you're not even allowed to turn the bowl on top of the egg upside down. Now the question is what is his reason, right? And we have a new concept of Muktza. Kosover, he holds, Ein kli niter elo ledavar anitel b'Shabbos. You're not allowed to move an object for an object that is not movable on Shabbat. And this is a very detailed concept, and you need to focus and pay attention if you want to understand it, Naftali. Okay? You need to really focus to understand this concept. Every time you move an object, there is a purpose for moving the object. Okay? Listen. Every object that you move, there is a purpose, there's a reason why you're moving it. You don't move something just because you're bored or you don't have anything better to do. You might, maybe you need a fidget toy, but even then you're moving it as a fidget toy. But every time you move an object, there's a reason that you move that object. And there's an intention that you have in your brain to move that object. And that intention makes a massive difference on Shabbat. What you're intending in your brain is a massive difference to whether it is permitted or not permitted on Shabbat. Says Rabbi Yitzchak, if you're moving object A for the purpose of object B must be movable on Shabbat. Okay? If object B is not movable on Shabbat, then you're not allowed to move object A for the purpose of object B. Right? Do you understand what that is? You're not allowed to move an object for the purpose of an object that's unmovable on Shabbat. Now, are you allowed to move the egg on Shabbat? No. So therefore, Rabbi Yitzchak says you're not allowed to take a bowl and turn it upside down on top of an egg to protect it, because why are you moving the bowl? To protect the egg. The egg is movable? No. Says Rabbi Yitzchak, you can't do that. Again, it is a different opinion and it contradicts everything we said up till now, because he's arguing with Rav Chisda. Remember, everything we learned till now was analyzing the opinion of Rav Chisda. Okay? Rabbi Yitzchak is arguing with the opinion of Rabbi Yitzchak, and therefore his opinion, his parameters contradict that of Rav Chisda. All right? What is the source for the speaking of medium and small, large stars? Is it in the Mishnah or a rabbinical interpretation? That is a good question. I don't want to answer it. Again, somebody's asking what's the source of the medium stars versus the small stars and the large stars. I don't want to answer it 100%, but I believe it's Talmud. It might be from the Mishnah, but if it's not from the Mishnah, it's definitely written in the Talmud. Okay? So where the source is, I have to look it up. And Bezrat Hashem will get back to you on that, where the source is. But the three medium stars it is mentioned at least in the Talmud. It might even be from the Mishnah. I'm not sure. Okay? That's that. Good. The number 3 is a very powerful number. How's the number 3 powerful in Judaism? Huh? 3 is peace? How's 3 peace? The third one brings together. We do have the concept that when you have two people arguing, you have a third person that says it. He's machriya. He's kind of like the, what do you call it? The mediator. Yeah, okay. We also have 3 as a chazaka. Chazaka means strength. Okay, strength, whenever you have two, by the way, let's say, for example, you have two legs of a chair. Could that chair stand? No. The minimum required to have something stand is 3. And we see this a lot in Judaism, the number 3, on how, 3 is the basis of many, many things. Yeah. All right? Anyways, but yes, I'll have to get back to you on the source of the medium stars versus the large stars and the small stars. Okay? Where are we? So now, Rav Yitzchak says you're not allowed to move object A for the purpose of object B if object B is not movable. Now we say, Meisve kol hani tiyufta. The Gemara says, I don't want to start repeating all the sources that I just said for the argument between Rabbah and Rabbi Yosef. I don't want to start repeating all those arguments, right? So I'm just telling you that if you look back at the Gemara and you look at all the quotes we had before, they all seem to contradict us. What do they contradict? That you're not allowed to move something for the purpose of something that's not movable. Take, for example, the basket. You said you're allowed to turn over a basket for the chicks to go on. Are the chicks movable on Shabbat? No, they're not. And therefore, it is a contradiction to Rav Yitzchak's opinion. Right? And if you look throughout all the quotes that we had that tried to challenge Rabbah and Rav Yosef's opinion, they apply to Rav Yitzchak's opinion. They might not necessarily all apply. I'm not sure. I didn't go through them to see if they all apply, but definitely some of them apply as a challenge to Rav Yitzchak. Right? And now we need to answer how Rav Yitzchak is going to justify his opinion against all these proofs that seem to suggest that his opinion is invalid. All right, and we answer it very important, very short and to the point. It says, "V'shani b'tzarech l'kayme." We learned that you need its place. And here is a massive concept in Muktza. Massive, massive, massive. Yeah? What's that? Yes, I'm about to explain what it means you need its place. When it comes to Muktza on Shabbat, when you're moving an object on Shabbat, you're moving it for a purpose, right? There's many different purposes you could move an object. You could move an object A for the purpose of object B, like we just decided, but you could also move object A because you don't want it there. You want the place cleared. Okay? Now, let's just say you have an object on your table. I have this by the way, this is a very good example on Shabbat. You come to your Shabbat table, and I see over here there is a plug. There's a plug here on the table. You don't see it because it's not in the video screen, but there's a plug here on the table. Okay? I want to now eat a meal on Shabbat without this plug on the table. Am I allowed to move that plug? Yitzchak says no. What do you say? You say in an unusual way. And what do you say? Anybody else?
It's only if the plug was placed.
Machloikis, that's a good answer. A dispute, it's a dispute. What else?
Sounds like a saying yes if you need the space.
So the answer is that I'm going to tell you from halachic perspective, it really depends on what the object is. But in most cases, you are allowed to move the object l'tzoyrich mikoymoi. The tzorich mikoymoi means I'm moving the object not because I want to use the object, not because I want to protect the object, but because I want the place the object is in. The place the object is in is bothering me. Now, here's a secret in Muktza. I'm about to tell you a very important detail of Muktza that a lot of people don't know. Once you are permitted to move a piece of Muktza, once it's allowed to move it, and you pick it up to move it, you can move it wherever you want. Yeah. You can, once you're allowed to move Muktza, you can move it to wherever you want. Right? There's no rules about where you can move it. And says Rabbi Yitzchak that let's just say you took this basket and you're really moving it because you wanted its place. The basket was on your table on Shabbat and you wanted to move the basket somewhere else. So you pick up the basket and you go outside and you're like, hey, you know what? Here's a bunch of chickens. I'm going to dump it down to do that. He says you're allowed to do that, right? Because you're not moving the basket for the purpose of the chickens. You're moving the basket for the purpose of the place that the basket was in. Now, once you're moving the basket for the purpose of the place that it's in, now if you want to put it by the chickens, you can put it by the chickens, right? Because Rabbi Yitzchak doesn't say anything about canceling. Remember, it's Rabbi Yosef's opinion says you cannot cancel the use. Rabbi Yitzchak says you're not allowed to move object A for the purpose of object B if you're not allowed to move object B. But if you're moving it for the purpose of clearing the space, now you can move it for whatever you want. Even if you're canceling its place. Because Rabbi Yitzchak didn't say that. That's not his opinion. Right? Rabbi Yitzchak doesn't hold of that. Yes, Naftali has a question.
Didn't we just learn that because of the intention? So if your intention for moving the basket is the chicks, then...
Correct. So you said the intention. But what I'm trying to tell you is you started moving the basket because you wanted its place. Once you start moving the basket because you wanted its place, now you can put it wherever you want.
So your intention...
There's no limitations. Again, no, it's not your intentions. Why did you move the basket? Because you wanted to get rid of you wanted to get it off your table. That's why you moved the basket. You didn't want it on your table. That's why you moved the basket. Okay? Now, once you move the basket, you're like, oh, how? You know what? I have another thing to do with the basket. That's separate. That's not why you moved the basket. Right? As I told you, once you move Muktza, now you have a green light to put it wherever you want. You don't have to drop it as soon. Let's say I take this plug off the table. I don't have to drop it right outside the table. No, I could walk into the kitchen. I could walk into a bedroom. I could put it wherever I want. Now, what happens if after I pick it up to move it, I say, hey, you know what, I have an idea what to do with it? That idea is irrelevant because at the end of the day, you're really moving it. Why are you really moving it? You're really moving it because you wanted its space. Now, happens to be that something else came up, fine. So that's how the Gemara concludes for this week, and I demand and request in the strongest way that you should read it over word for word because there's a lot of small details that you might be missing if you don't read it in the actual words of the Talmud. I'll remind all our viewers that this is a class that's built to teach people how to learn Talmud. And we actually have worksheets, and if you send me a message or if you put in the comment that you want to get a hold of me to get worksheets, we'll deal with it, and I maybe will sit with you a little bit and try to give you some guidance on how to learn the Talmud. But again, this class is built to try to teach you how to learn the Talmud, and of course, in the discussion, I very often will kind of go off topic and teach something else as well. All right? Anyways, we've gotten to the end of our official material, which means we get to our unofficial material, which is always exciting, right? Which means right now, we're going to open up to all the viewers online, and by the way, in the class as well, if anybody has any question about anything that you want to ask me, right? You could even ask me, what's the color of my ears? What's the color of my ears? I don't know, I can't see them. Maybe I have to go like this? No, I still can't see them. Maybe I need 2 mirrors. I need 2 mirrors to see the color of my ears. But you can ask me any question. If I feel I can answer your question, I will attempt to answer your question, etc. Okay, Mr. Kick All Butt. We are live, and you could even ask a question if you want, and we might actually answer it if I think that it's something I can answer. Okay, we are going to answer a few questions that came up over here. We have our friend Oleg, who's a good friend of mine. We've spoken a few times. He hasn't yet visited me in Tzfat, but I really hope he does. He lives here in Israel. I hope he comes down to the north here in Tzfat. Oleg says, what's the first question he has? A little up there, yeah. He says, what is these? No. You down. You went too far. Right after that. Sorry for going too off topic, but what are the blue books behind you from the previous Rebbe? These are the Maimarim. These are the talks of the previous Rebbe behind me. That you see in the screen, etc. You could come here and read them. We'll help you out. Okay, I want to learn the Aramaic in which the Gemara is written. Any advice? So Oleg, send me a private message reminding me, and that's it. Okay, we have Mr. Kick All Bot, right?
Kick AI bot.
Oh, Kick AI Bot. I thought it's all Kick AI Bot. No, it's not bot. It's bot, like a B-O-T, like the bot. All right. He says, can I be Jewish? I don't know. Could you? Maybe you are Jewish. You might be Jewish already. I have to speak to you. Maybe you are. And if you're not yet Jewish, you definitely could become Jewish. I just have to cut a small piece of your foreskin off and do a couple other stuff and teach you. I have to teach you a little bit as well. And then we can do it. So if you're ready to chop a small part of your, then we can make you Jewish if you want. Yes. That is the answer to your question, Mr. Kick Al Bat. So anyone can convert. The answer is that any human being, if they're human, if they're a dog or if they're an AI, that cannot convert. We don't let AI into the Jewish nation, right? We built it and we'll use it, but we're not going to let them be one of us. Mr. AI, if you're really an AI, you can't be Jewish. But if you're a human being, any human being from any race, color, creed, whatever it is allowed to become Jewish. It's not easy. It's not an easy process, and it's not necessarily recommended. I know many religions, the first things they do is they say, yeah, you want to join us, come. In Judaism, we say, not so fast. We're not necessarily taking you that easily. And I'll tell you why. Because Judaism does not believe that everybody's meant to be Jewish. Many religions believe everybody should be their religion. Judaism does not believe that everybody should be Jewish. We believe that the Jewish people were given a very unique and particular mission in this world, okay, to bring various concepts of godliness to the rest of the world. That is our mission, and therefore we are meant to do that mission. Now, some people want to join that mission. Okay, well, if you want to join that mission, you can join that mission. But if you're going to join that mission, you better do it well, because no one asked you to join the mission, right? Now, if you want to be a good person and not Jewish, that's fine. And in Judaism, a person could be a very good and holy and healthy, happy person and live a meaningful life without being Jewish. And therefore, if somebody wants to become Jewish, and by the way, we have people that became Jewish, or many people became Jewish that were not born Jewish, and we just tell them, listen, if you want to become Jewish, we can work it out, but you just got to be careful that you're going to keep your commitment. And it's not an easy commitment. Anybody that's actually following Judaism for a while can tell you it's not an easy commitment, and that's why we don't necessarily recommend it, unless for whatever reason you're like, I got to be Jewish, then we got to work that out. All right? And then, then we cut off a little piece of your foreskin, and Huh? Yeah. Any other questions out there from our viewers or from our students that they want to ask before we close the thing?
Citations in the right column. I think you got them in yours.
Yes. So you have the older version of the Talmud, and very often they're giving footnotes. They're giving other, like they're telling you where to find these. Right? For example, you have over there Nun Aleph is actually telling you Nusach Acher. Nusach Acher means that there's another version that says over here Toshma. Right? Which
Version, like a different printing of the Shas.
correct. In the Talmud there were some possible misprints in the Talmud. Right? It did happen. Yeah. Yeah. What? Anything else? What do we have here? Most don't. Okay, forget about that one. What is the significance of moving?
Removing.
Oh, what is the significance? It says in the Torah. God told us to do this. If you read in the Bible, it says very clearly, Abraham was commanded to circumcise himself and then to circumcise all of his children. And we Jews consider all people, all members of our nation are considered children of Abraham, and therefore we all must circumcise. If you're born Jewish, it usually happens when you're 8 days old. We circumcise you, and then you just don't remember it. You don't remember the experience. But there's not. I actually know a guy here in Tzfat that he was born Jewish, but he was living in a place where they don't do circumcisions, and his parents weren't very religious. He was 32 years old when he got circumcised. You know what I said when I heard that? Ouch. That's all I said. Really, really hurt. Yeah. Anyways, that is the reality. Let's continue to any final questions before we shut down our program. Final questions? Yeah, any final questions? We'll give you about 10 seconds for our viewers.
Shalom from the Philippines.
Shalom from the Philippines. We're happy to see you. If you're still there, Mr. UPC Travis, thank you for coming from the Philippines. We're happy to have you. Also, by the way, anybody online, make sure to share the content. Make sure to subscribe if you're on YouTube. Okay, hit subscribe and the bell so that you always get notified when I put up a video. We do this every single day, Sunday through Thursday. Sunday through Thursday, we do this. Okay? Next week, there's a few days where we might not have the class, but we'll mention that in the future. You could always see the replays of our class online, on YouTube, on Facebook, etc. Okay? What is going on here? Stay safe, sir. All the tensions in the Middle East. Yes, we are in the Middle East. There is a lot of tensions over here. People are a little nervous, but that's life. We got to live. We got to live. We're not gonna just get scared because some guy said boo. Right? That's it. By the way, I want to throw this out there for those of you serious, loyal people that are watching. There is a way to help encourage us to continue doing these videos and to help cover our expenses, which do exist, to make these videos. Okay? And one of the ways you can do so is in the link. There is a link to a Patreon. If you click the Patreon, you can make a small donation per month. You can give a $5, $10, $50, $100, $150 donation, and you can help us operate our program. All right? Good. He says, I got my circumcision when I was 3. I wasn't conscious. Okay. He was, all right. Good. I think we're about to close the session unless we get some final comments or questions. Anything else? Huh? No. All right. Last one. Oh, we have something here. Let me just see here. What does it say? Modern Abrahamic, modern Abrahamic, by the way, is used in Kurdish Jews. All right. That's modern Aramaic. I'm not sure how similar that is to the Aramaic of, I'm not sure how similar that is to the Aramaic of the Talmud, but it could be, etc. What do I think about Iran? I'd rather not think about Iran. That's the truth. Somebody just asked, what do I think about Iran? What do I think about Iran?
They're basically in the same situation as Nazi Germany was in 1938.
Yeah, Iran has a problem. Iran has a very big problem internally. I think that I've met many Iranians. Many of them don't even want to call themselves Iranians. They call themselves
Iranians.
Persians. They call themselves Persians because they're for the Persian Empire. And many of them don't like the fact that the country is being run by basically terrorists. The people running Iran are terrorists. They have the same ideology, which is to try to kill anybody that is not part of their religion. They want to kill them, or at least force them to comply with them. Okay? So that's at least the people running the Iranian regime. And many of the people in Iran, I believe, don't like the fact that these people are running the Iranian regime. And I've spoke to many of them that want them out. They want them out, but it's unfortunately very difficult. And it's sad that, unfortunately, Israel is having to deal with a lot of the problems that they've been causing us over here. All right? But that's what I think about Iran, and that's that. What did you put up there? Huh?
It's your,
We put some links
YouTube,
there.
Patreon, and TikTok.
And but where did it go? Did it go? It went on to. It goes on. It goes on as a comment.
Yeah.
So you might see there some links to my Patreon. You might see some links to my other YouTube channels, my whatever it is. Please join them and share them and help us get this class out there. And the more people, the better. We are very happy to have a nice turnout today. There was actually more people online than in our classroom, which is very good. And we hope you continue coming back. Make sure to like, subscribe, share, and this is going to ensure that you get notified when I go back online. And I think we'll end with that. We don't have to really go more. That's it. Right? We're going to shut the stream.